Hey, what's going on, guys? And today I wanted to do hopefully an extensive review of the Senville mini split. So there's actually a lot of these mini splits out on the market, and I just wanted to give a little bit of my feedback on this particular unit, some of the setup, some of what's going to be required to get this set up, and just my overall thoughts. So first I'll talk about the actual reason I went with this particular model over some others. I did a lot of research, and many of these you'll find are very similar in terms of pricing. This one I went through, read a lot of the reviews, and I was just very happy with what a lot of people were saying. Seemed like it was going to be something that's going to work really well, both in colder climates as well as in the winter. This particular unit will actually work in temperatures as low as -5 degrees. So that was one of the main reasons I wanted to do this. In my particular case, I actually have, this is basically an extended 3-car garage that's really massive. I'm here in the back of the building. And at one point, this was basically an added garage bay that was added onto the house. And one of the past owners of the house actually decided to basically remodel the entire room, which you'll see in a minute. And they more or less didn't remove the garage door, so I've decided to remove that, put a patio door in. But of course I needed to have something to cool the space, and I could eventually turn this into my office, which is what I'm working towards now. So we just had this installed. A couple things with this is going to arrive on a pallet. Basically it's going to have the line set pieces that are going to be needed for all the hookups. It's going to come with a head unit, which is basically what is coming through this piping here, up through the line set that's running through this piping that sits on the other side of the wall. You have your condenser unit, and all of this will arrive more or less probably within about a week or two. It's going to take a little bit longer than most shipments that you're going to order you know, through normal retailers. But a couple things that you are going to need with this is you're going to need a mounting bracket for the condenser. Otherwise this is going to have to sit on some sort of pad or maybe a concrete brick. I decided to go with the mounting option because of the fact that I do get a lot of snow here, and in some cases, you know, our snow, if piled up enough, could actually go almost as high as we have it mounted here. So I didn't want any issues where I've got snow going into the compressor or causing issues with this. I was a little bit nervous about the mounting option because I thought maybe it could like shake the wall, or you could hear like humming or noise. But this thing is actually on right now, and you can tell it's extremely quiet. You basically just have the fan running, and it's not very loud at all. I can't even tell through the wall that it's wall mounted versus being on the ground. So I would probably say, if you can, go with the wall mount option. Look around, there is a Senville specific bracket, but this is actually a universal one that we got, and it works just fine. Now additionally, you're going to have to buy some line set cover. This is an aftermarket kit that I ended up getting for the unit. So basically this just runs down. You can see all the extra line set here is covered, but we have this nice piping kit that covers everything, and then you have a bracket here up at the top to kind of finalize this. Now in terms of the other pieces for the installation, normally you're going to have an electrician come out and basically run what's called a whip. So this is basically a whip that covers the electrical line for the exterior. You can see they used a couple brackets here to hold this. And then this actually goes into basically what they call a disconnect box. You can get these in both like plastic or metal, and my electrician just got this, decided to get this plastic one, which really no preference. You can get these where they don't have specific breakers in them. I was told, and just reading some things, you may be better off getting an actual breaker in this box, and then that way you have a little bit more control of the unit. So if I wanted to power it off from out here, I have that option, but I've also got the option to also power it off from the actual electrical panel inside my garage here. So really not going to cost you that much more to get the breaker on this, and it will offer a little bit more protection, I would say, you know, if you decide to go that route. So this is pretty clean the way that they did all of this. More or less there's just a hole going right through the wall on the other side of this box, and that way we're not running all this additional electrical wiring on the exterior of the building. You also do have, I wanted to mention, a nice little condenser piece here that's going to put any condensation and basically runoff. So you can see this is actually giving some runoff now, and that's just going to drip down the hill here. So let's actually go inside. I'll show you the rest. I'll show you the electrical hookups and the actual head unit and the remote. Now another thing I originally thought about as well is I had this concrete pad, and I thought about just putting it here and putting the head unit here, but in my particular circumstance I was going to run into an issue where the electrical wiring would have been more complicated, and of course this is something where I didn't really want the condenser blocking the way up the staircase. So we ended up going for that wall mount option, and I think it was overall a better fit. So here's my patio slider that I ended up doing, and it's a little bit of a mess in here because we are under construction, but you can actually see this is the head unit up here, and I was able to set up my desk. This is basically a probably about a 400 square foot size space. It's basically like a single car garage. You can see the old garage pieces are still here. We're in the process of removing and finishing this, but I've got this on 70 degrees right now, and this thing is cooling the entire place like no problem. Now, I don't think I mentioned it, but I went with the 12,000 BTU unit. The nice thing about this particular unit is you can get it in both 110, 120 volts, or you can get it in basically what would be a 208 or 230 volt. Now, if you go with the 110, you only are going to need a single pole breaker inside of your electrical panel, and I'll show you that here in a minute. But in my case, I actually was very limited because I only had a single pole breaker remaining in my panel. So if you go with the 230 volt unit, you're probably going to get a little bit more power out of it in terms of the output of how much that it can produce for air conditioning, but you are going to need a 2-pole breaker inside of your panel, so you're going to be using more room inside that panel. So that's something that you definitely want to consider before you order this. Before I go show you the panel and the electrical setup, let me actually show you the remote as well. This does come with a nice little holder, so I actually mounted it here perfectly next to a shelf, and basically I can grab this at any time. And this does have an LED, so basically you can set the temperature, the speed of the fan, and then it can go through multiple different modes, like just the fan only, AC. You have different options here for like timer, sleep. You can do a swing setting. So in my case, I'm like sitting right here, right? So I might not want this blowing right on me. I could have the air blowing up, and that way it's not going to blow directly on me while I'm sitting here. You also have a few other options here for like direct settings. You can actually do follow me, so this will like kind of follow you around and sense where you are. There's a turbo mode, a cleaning mode, and then a shortcut mode, which I'm not sure what that is actually. But fairly nice little remote. It has it's battery powered. And the good thing about this is it is an IR remote, and something that you could look into is you can actually get aftermarket units that will allow you to control this particular mini split through a Wi-Fi connection if you're using an IR remote just like that one. So that's something that I'm going to be looking to add in the future, and then that way I can control this or turn it on in the winter time and not have to worry about it. Senville does make a Wi-Fi based version of this, but it's significantly more I would say than what you're gonna get, you know, if you get this. It's probably like 300 or 400 more versus this particular unit. So I decided not to opt for that. You know, I would say kind of leave that at your discretion, because obviously the Wi-Fi control built into the unit is probably gonna work better than any aftermarket solution. So let me actually show you how the remaining electrical wire ran, and I can overall give you some idea of what I ended up, you know, putting into this whole project. So basically right here is the opposite side where the disconnect is. We have a wire that's specifically run down here. We have it running through kind of my entrance way here, so I protected this with just like some concealer stuff, and that way no one's gonna step on the electrical wire. It actually runs all the way up here, up this main support beam we have in the garage, and then down into our sub panel, which feeds off the house. So garage is a little bit of chaotic mess right now because we're doing some painting, but I'll show you where this ends up. So this is the wire here, and basically in the electrical panel we have a single pole breaker that we've now labeled office AC. So this is basically the only one that I had left because we power an entire apartment that's actually above the garage here. So I didn't want to end up in a circumstance where I had to disconnect other things or go and add another sub panel just to be able to power that AC. So that's something you definitely want to keep in mind before you order this unit. I would say the big thing is really just determining, you know, depending on the size of the space that you're going to be working in, you know, if I was to put, like, for example, that mini split and try to cool this entire garage, I'd probably need something like a 30,000 BTU unit or higher. And if I was to do that, then, you know, I'm going to be in a circumstance where I'm going to need that bigger breaker. So overall, I'm very happy with this unit. I thought I'd give you guys as much detail as possible. But in terms of, you know, getting this entire project done, you're basically looking at about $750 for the unit itself. You have, you know, more or less about, I paid, you know, I think it was about $750 for the installation of the unit, and then it was another about $400 to $450 for the electrical install. So you're looking at about $2,000 total for something like this. One thing you may run into as well is that if you contact some of your local HVAC companies, they may end up telling you, well, oh, I want to use this unit, and you know, what I would suggest is just continue shopping around and find someone who's actually willing to put one of these in, and then use an electrician to do all the electrical work separately. And if you can do that, ultimately you could probably have this thing fully done, all said and done, installed for around $200 to $2,500, depending on the electrician's rate and the HVAC technician's rate. So hopefully you guys found this review helpful. I'm very, very happy with this unit, and I hope that this is going to be something I'm going to be using for quite some time. I'm so far extremely happy with the fact that now I've got my office here. I basically am in a space where I can have some nice cooling. I have a place where people can hang out, you know, possibly even sleep in here and not have to have any issues with heat or cold during either the winter or the summer months. So anyway, I hope you guys enjoyed the review, and I'll talk to you later.
Let it go, make my body go, make our bodies high.